everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to unlock your blocks to abundance and find the wealth you deserve, then do we have the You Are a Badass at Making Money show for you. Today I'll be talking with Jen Sincero, #1 New York Times bestselling author, success coach, motivational speaker, and the author of a fantastic new book, You're a Badass at Making Money. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about mastering the mindset of wealth to take you from tumbleweeds and Taco Bell to luxury hotels and true abundance. That plus we'll talk about yellow V-neck sweaters, Italian-speaking green parrots, St. Nicholas Day and clogs, Jeff Rumara's and 9th grade, the power of the burn book, and what in the world a horse, 2 goats, and 5 hours of delirium has to do with anything. So welcome to the show, Jen. Are you ready to shine?
What a great intro. I is ready to shine.
Woohoo! Woohoo! So going along with our I is-edness, I almost hate to ask, what in the world does a horse, 2 goats, and 5 hours of delirium have to do with anything?
Well, when I was writing the original You Are a Badass book, I was living on a farm. And it's kind of a long story, but basically the goats were always trying to get into the house while I was writing the book. And I share this story in my book on tenacity and determination and thinking outside of the box. So these are farm animals. Mm-hmm. They live outside. They have been, scripted as a, their script was, we don't get to come inside. However, these goats were big thinkers, and they kept at it until one day while I was away in town getting supplies, they broke through the sliding glass doors and for 5 delirious hours pissed and pooped and completely trashed my house.
And then, just to add insult to injury, they wanted out.
I know, they got trapped. So the screen door slammed behind them, and when I got home, I could hear them banging on the glass, and I was like, why are they still banging on the glass if I'm not in the house? Because they were a little obsessed with me. Mm-hmm. And then I realized they weren't trying to get in, they were trying to get out. And so they literally were stuck in there. And I'll tell you, I have never seen such attention to detail. I've never seen such precision in destruction. It was, they not only did they knock over every planter and smash them all over the place. There was dirt and plant debris all over. They pooped in my shower. Like they took the time to go make sure that was taken care of. But they also hopped up and down and knocked all of the paintings off the walls of the house. Everything that could have been messed with was messed with.
Oh my. And then in your last interview, we talked about your amazing Audi and how that was, and we're going to be talking about leaps of faith and how that was a huge leap for you, but it was very important energetically as a shift. But it sounds like the goats also fell in love with your Audi.
They did. So after they broke into the house and got a taste for, 1,000 thread count sheets, they were different creatures. So I compared it to when we break through and achieve the impossible in our own lives. Suddenly the world literally looks different. And especially with money, when we go from a place of struggle to a place of understanding how easily it really can flow into our lives. I was living in a converted garage not that long ago, and now I'm doing great financially. And it literally feels like a completely different reality. So after the goats broke in and experienced they got to hang out for 5 hours. They probably watched TV, took a nap. I don't know what the hell they did. And when I found them, they were literally changed creatures. They had this demonic, they were drunk with power, basically, like laughing and screaming and breaking out of the property and pissing all over the neighborhood's flower beds and trying to break into their houses. And they also jumped all over my Audi, my new Audi, and it wasn't just jumping on it like it was an SUV, so they couldn't quite get on it. So they put their hooves in and then hoisted themselves up, which made some extremely impressive and deep ruts in the hood.
And what category does that fall under with your insurance? Run over by goats. All right, so let's go from there. Let's talk real briefly. We're going to talk about your story throughout the interview, but let's go back to living in a garage. I'm guessing it's Venice Beach. You've actually manifested that. So you were starting down this journey, but what's the Jen Sincero 101, how you got to from living in a garage to where you are now?
Honestly, it started with the decision. And that seems so stupid and no-brainer, but I had spent 40 years plus, I was over 40 when I was living in the garage. I'd spent 40 years very identified as a broke person, very committed to my story that I couldn't afford it, that I didn't know how to make money, that money somehow wasn't there for me. I could see, how it was available to other people, but for some reason I felt like it just wasn't available to me. That I sucked at making it. I just had a very long litany of things. And so because those were my beliefs, I spent 40 years proving myself correct. And then I just, slowly, there wasn't some big epiphany. I didn't almost get hit by a car and wake up and be like, I'm going to change my life. I just got really freaking sick of choosing things off the menu by their price as opposed to whether or not I wanted to eat it or not, making all of my decisions based on the cost of things. And I think this is such an interesting thing. So many people who are in struggle around money, who don't want to make money the central focus of their lives, you end up making it totally the central focus because when you're broke, every decision you make is based on how much it costs. Once you start making money, you don't really think about it that much. So that's sort of one of the many cosmic jokes on us.
And that's a self-fulfilling loop, because if you've got all of your focus on which do I choose to make sure I have enough, then you're of course not going to have enough. Yeah.
You're constantly obsessing about your lack of money. And so when you obsess about and focus on anything, you create more of it. So that got old and I was getting old. And I was like, all right, I got to change this up soon or I'm going to die in this garage. And I made the just decision to get rich. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how the hell I was going to do it. But I just opened myself up to allowing myself to get rich, which is a huge stumbling block. The allowing yourself to get rich, because it's such a dirty word in our culture. It's such a moral free concept to focus on money. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to dive into that word. Let's have you finish your story, and then I want to dive into that word because my collective head snaps back because I know our show's gone gazunga crazy, 200 plus countries. If I put to get rich in the title with our spiritual audience, it tanks because it has such a negative connotation. I believe we all want abundance in our lives. But if you say, would you like to get rich? People start apologizing. They'll start double tapping, dancing, flip-flopping back on themselves and then wonder why they have troubles at the end of the month. Myself in the past included.
Oh, yeah. There's so much judgment. Meanwhile, we use money every single solitary day. Every day. The water you drink, air you breathe, the house you live in, the food you eat, everything. And we've criminalized it and the process of making it to a point where we keep ourselves in struggle around it. It is the most fascinating and idiotic thing that human beings do, really. And I, again, was an expert at it for many years, so I could say that. But anyway, so I got sick of that dog and pony show and decided, even though I had still lots of judgment and tons of fears about what people would think of me if I if I gave myself permission to get rich and focused on making money, but I did it anyway. And that entailed reading every self-help book I could find. I read all the money-making classics. I went to money-making seminars. I took courses. I signed up with a private coach, and I did everything I could think of. I didn't care how cheesy, because I was in a rock band. I was really cool, and I felt like a lot of this money stuff was super duper cheesy on top of every other judgment I had. But I put on my damn name tag, and I went to those seminars, and I high-fived people, and I did whatever I had to do. I constantly got out of my comfort zone, and so then slowly but surely, I started to have these shifts in my perception. And a lot of it was about changing my thought patterns, which I was learning in these seminars and the books and everything, from my broken record of I'm broke, I can't afford it, I suck at making money, money's the root of all evil, to instead saying, I live in an abundant universe and I receive money with great glee. It's everywhere. It's awesome. The 3 little words, I love money. If you walk around saying that out loud, see how quickly people run in the other direction, and see how quickly you want to run in the other direction, But I forced myself to embrace it. And because I had shifted my feelings around it, when opportunities presented themselves, I could see them, because before I was so focused on how everything sucked, how I sucked and money sucked. But when I decided to embrace it, I was able to embrace more opportunity. And one of those opportunities was meeting my first coach, who I paid 1/4 of my annual income to work with. Now, in the old days when I was, subscribing to I'm too broke to do anything, no way in hell would I even have considered hiring her, because I couldn't afford it. But now that I was, changing my mindset, I was like, instead of I can't afford it, I was like, I'm finding that damn money to pay her. And I took out 2 more credit cards, went even deeper into debt. I was in debt at the time. It was absolutely the most terrifying thing I could have ever done. Hired her, and then called her 15 minutes later and begged and cried and screamed to give my money back.
Wow.
But luckily, she really talked me through, and she's like, this may be the most important money you ever spend. You have so gotten outside of your comfort zone. You've raised the stakes. And then I did everything she told me to do. She specialized in helping women particularly get over their financial crap. And I ended up tripling my income in 3 months after starting working with her.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So you said, I love money. In fact, you have an amazing mantra in the book I love money because I love myself. But when you started going to this is a mind bender to me, and it must have been for you as well, to plunk down money to even attend a seminar must have scrambled your brain.
Oh, it all did. It was terrifying. And but I say in my books, like, if you're not scared, you're doing something wrong. If you want to change your life, because you got where you're at by doing what you've been doing this whole time, and you're comfortable there. That's your comfort zone. So getting outside of your comfort zone is freaky and terrifying, and you have to stretch yourself. So it was that leap between, like, I'm spending money I don't really have to create more money, and I have to have faith and believe that I can do it, and I'm going to rise to the damn occasion because I'm freaking serious about this.
How did you start to you have a lot of beautiful exercises in the book, like rewriting your truths about money. How did you start to understand what your truths were, or they're called truths, they're almost the opposite of truths, but where the myths are that you are operating under?
Well, the first step is becoming aware and deciding to become aware of your broken record. It's such a cool thing because we don't realize how much on autopilot we are, right? Like, we just take it at face value that money is the root of all evil, or you have to work really hard to make money, and you have to do things that are not fun at all to make money. We've all there's no end to the amount of, false scripts that we're all living our lives by. And so for me, I just decided again to become aware, and I started catching myself, really paying attention to how I was thinking, really paying attention to how I was speaking about money, and really listening to how the people that I hung out with the most spoke about money. And that is a really great sign, because you hang out with people who generally have the same, views, outlooks on life that you do. And so if you're listening to your friends bitch about how bad the economy is, how rich people suck, and you're like, yeah, I'm probably saying a lot of that too. And I did exercises like the one I have in my new book. I wrote a letter to money, which is so revealing. It's all about, I love you. I wish I had more of you, but you make me feel filthy, and I'm embarrassed to admit I want more of you, but I'm so excited when you show up, but I don't think you're ever going to show up again. It's a zoo. It really
Codependence,
is.
Anyone?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the law of vibration?
The law of vibration is that everything in our universe vibrates. Everything is energy. And when you really understand that, and the universe, well, gosh, I could go on 17 different tangents with this, but there are different frequencies that everything is vibrating at. Lower frequency things are, I'm so broke, I'm depressed, I'm worried, I'm freaking out. Higher frequency is, I live in an abundant universe, I believe in possibility, I'm grateful to everything that I don't even have yet and all the crap that's happened to me in the past because it's teaching me lessons. There's different ways, and you can feel it in your body, right? Like when you're thinking high frequency thoughts, you literally, we call it lifting your spirits. And so when you come from a place of having your spirits lifted, you're vibrating on a different plane, and you're vibrating on the same plane as a lot of other opportunities and things and humans that are at that same frequency. So when it comes to changing your life, this is such a interesting thing. We're taught to believe that, I'll believe it when I see it. And you have to flip that, and you have to believe it first, and then you'll see it. Because when you believe it first, you raise your frequency, and then you pull it into your perception.
And it's ironic because typically as we're growing, the people around us are telling us, I'll believe it when I see it, therefore helping bring about their reality rather than the reality we're trying to create.
Oh yeah, they'll smear all your doubt, fears, and worries all over you all along the way, just because they care.
Oh God!
But where are you guys moving?
We are moving to Emerald Isle, North Carolina, and it's crystal clear waters, a quiet 22-mile long stretch of beach that is facing south. So on the East Coast in the winter, you actually get sunrise and sunset over the ocean. So super quiet. Peaceful, summertime a vacation place for people on the beach, wintertime really quiet, a mecca for kayaking, outdoor activities, swimming on the sound side. And it's when we talk about abundance and things of this sort, kind of bringing it back to the show. Yesterday I was holding a class last night, and I made a slideshow. I made a slide on trust and faith, and we'll go in there next. And I wanted to share the story of how we didn't know where we'd be spending this summer. We know where we're moving to next fall, but we didn't know where to go this summer. We had an opportunity for a place inland about 20 miles away, and I had turned it down. It was a backup, and I said, no, the right place right on the water is going to appear. I made the slide last night, and I said, we'll tell our story, ... And the phone rang, and it was the realtor, and the place has magically appeared better than we could have expected, and it all worked out. It's a woohoo! We didn't know. We have rented the truck. We're going to be packing it up, and we still didn't have the place to go to. But it was just what you're talking about. I'll see it when I believe it.
What a great story. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. So I figured we're teaching this on the show. If we don't go for it ourselves.
Right. Well, that's exactly how I manifested the goat farm too.
So, and that was 17 acres, if I understand.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's exactly what I wanted. It was better than what I wanted.
I like that. We put in our manifestation exercises or something even better. So that way we leave that wiggle room, because I don't pretend that I know best. I don't have a clue at the end of the day.
Right.
So maybe let's go from there. Let's talk about the importance of faith, or stepping off the cliff and having the wings appear on the way down.
Okay. When you are changing your life, you have never experienced this new life. So you have to have faith, because you are participating in a realm that you've never participated in. You have zero proof that, let's stick with money, that the money you desire is there for you. And maybe you even have lots of proof that it isn't there for you, because you've been broke your whole life, you've tried everything, blah, blah, blah. But when you make the decision, in spite of your present circumstances, to create the life you love, and you demand it of yourself, and you demand it of the universe, and you are just like a pit bull with your thoughts and your words and your beliefs and your visions, and you keep that frequency high, and you don't listen to other people's doubts, fears, and worries. You don't listen to your own. You just stay the course and keep your mindset rock solid. Part of that, the whole thing driving that, is faith. You have to have faith, because otherwise you won't allow yourself to do it. You won't allow yourself to really believe it and think those things. So faith really is the bridge, the invisible bridge from the reality you're in right now to the reality you're creating.
In there, you used a very interesting word, and I'm wondering if you can expand upon that. You said demand of ourselves and demand of the universe. What does that mean?
It means that you do everything you know how to do. Okay. So, and that's the whole thing about like the how. You're not supposed to know the how yet because you haven't done it yet. So you do everything. You keep your mindset strong. You take action in every single way that you can think of possible. You know, you reach out to people, you take risks over and over, you change what you're doing, you study, you meditate, you do your work. And at the same time, you surrender to the universe. And this is the part that's terrifying because we like to feel really in control, and we think if we work really hard, we'll get rich and get everything we want. But there's an amount of surrender required because, again, you've never done this before. You don't know how to do it, but the universe does. So by surrendering and breathing and leaning back as you're moving forward, but really looking to opportunities that seem completely out of the blue, or most likely that seem terrifying and upsetting, and in my case, cheesy and way too expensive, the universe will bring you what you desire. You have to pony up and seize it, however. So demand of the universe by surrendering and by doing everything you know how to do, and the universe will provide.
So in those situations, we've surrendered. When we see something something presents itself that is scary, that is crazy, that is cheesy, that comes in out of the blue, instead of going, wait, I'm going to sit back and wait for the easy train, that scary train is probably exactly what we need to throw ourselves onto.
Yeah, and you need to do it quickly because in my experience and in my experience with my clients, if you don't act, and you'll get an intuitive hit, like you really do know. You know you're terrified, but you also know this feels right for some weird reason. I got to do this. If you hesitate, all your excuses and old habits and rationalizations will start flooding in that crack in your resolve, and you'll stay exactly where you are.
Is that what you call bum rushing your fears?
Yes. Yeah.
So on that note, that's one of your busting yourself tips. And this seems like when we're demanding, we're busting ourselves. And I call it the two-step dance. You're doing the dance, the universe is doing the dance, and you do it together and you see what comes out. What is busting yourself tip number 2, watching your mouth, and what are some key phrases to watch for?
Such an interesting thing. Language. I mean, when you really think about language, it's so cool. We use it to form our realities. We describe things, we name things, we explain concepts through language. And I write in the book, and I know very little about this, but I think it's such a cool thing that the Native American tribe, the Hopis, don't have a word for the future or the past, because they're living in the present. They don't even have a word for the present, because in order to talk about the present, you have to leave the present. So their language doesn't incorporate past, present, or future, because they just are. I think is really cool. So that's how powerful language is. And part of becoming a badass at making money is getting clear about your language that you use around money. And a couple words that we don't really think about are I want a new house, I want more money. Want literally means I lack. And so if you keep talking about how you want more money, I want more money, you're programming yourself, I'm lacking money, I'm lacking money, which is why affirmations and prayer and anything you're going to repeat needs to be in the present tense. I have all the money I desire. I love money. I'm so grateful for all the money in my life. Putting it in the present tense and in a more positive form really helps. Wish is another one. Wish means might happen, might not. I'm not in control. I wish I had more money. Can you think of more?
Well, you've got I need and I can't.
I can't. Yeah, I can't. Yes, I'm trying to make more money.
That's the Yoda one right there. There is no try.
Yeah, there is no try. You are making more money. Yeah, it's very powerful stuff. And again, you feel the frequency in that, right? Like you can feel how much more empowering one statement is versus the other. And it's all about that vibration.
What do we do when we say to ourselves an affirmation such as, I am making more money, I am wealthy, and the subconscious is going, whoa, you are not. I can show you your bank account. You are not doing that. How do we then move past that block?
Physical stuff is very helpful for me. It's very different for all sorts of people. Well, first of all, having any emotion around it is so important. If you're just saying empty words and they don't mean anything, it's not going to get you anywhere, which is why you need to attach them to something that has some loaded energy to you. So for me, for example, mine was always, I can't afford it, was my broken record. So when I started saying, there's money all around me and I receive it with great glee, even though I wasn't seeing any of it coming in, it had meaning to me, and I really desired that, you know? So even though it wasn't true to me yet, it had meaning. So make sure, first of all, that it has meaning. And when you say it, if you can raise that frequency of yours, if, you know, through visualization, like visualizing money coming to you, listening to music that pumps you up and saying it while you're doing that. Tony Robbins has this thing where he like beats his chest and he says his affirmations. So like anchor it in physically. Whatever, it's different for everybody. If if you're exercising while you do it, but it needs to be embodied in you, and it needs to be emotional, or else it's not going to get you anywhere.
I've been doing a beach dance. So I've been dancing around, giving thanks for being at the beach this summer, picturing myself in the house we've already got, taking out the kayak, dancing around, feeling it in every cell of my being. From there, let's talk about having an us talk with money.
Well, this sort of goes along the lines of that letter that you write to money, and facing your stuff with it. And again, like, it's just so amazing that we don't know how we feel about money. We don't consider it. We use it every single solitary day, like it or not, however you feel about money. If you are a human being alive on planet Earth in modern society, you need money, and you're using it every day. So tough noogies if you don't like that. That's the way it is. So to pay close attention to not only your words, beliefs, and thoughts about money, but the money that you do have and the money that you desire, and getting an actual number in mind. Like, instead of being like, I want to be a millionaire and I want to be rich, that means nothing. You want a house on a specific beach and a kayak. How much is that going to cost you? Get very clear on that, and look at it and put a plan in place to make that specific amount, and focus all your laser beams on it and visualize yourself with that specific amount. Specifics create emotion. Vagueness creates more vagueness. So it's about getting very specific with money, and not shying away from getting specific with money. It's such a taboo topic that we tend to just sort of keep doing stuff and hope it somehow gets better magically.
You were talking about specifics. What level of detail do we want to go into, and what if we don't have that level of detail yet?
If you don't have the exact parameters of your dream life laid out in front of you, if you're still sort of figuring out what you desire, go with what you know. So get very clear on the things you do know. I'm sure there's certain things in your life that you desire, and get clear on those, and then start taking action to create them, because thinking things over in our heads and trying to get all the answers together in our heads before taking action, you could do that for the rest of your life. But if you just take some action with some question marks attached to them, you will lead yourself to the answers. You'll figure out what you like, what you don't like, what's fun, what's not fun.
Awesome. There's a story you share in Chapter 6 about being a mental moneymaker. It's been shared before, but it's such a beautiful story. Wonder if we can do an abridged version here, what we can learn from Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah. So Jim Carrey, I think he told on the Oprah Winfrey Show about when he first moved to LA and, had no acting prospects on the horizon, and he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he knew he wanted to make very good money doing it. He just didn't know how the hell it was going to happen. He wrote out a check for himself for, I think it was $2 million. And in the memo, it was for acting services rendered, and he put a date on it. And it was a date, I think, that was about 2 years in the future. And he carried around it in his wallet for 2 years and looked at it every day and just it was a real check, and he visualized himself being handed this check for this specific thing on the specific day for a specific amount. And, his career went up and down. He got acting gigs here and there, doing stand up and, the typical rejection, but getting back up and doing more, and then a little bit of success, and then all over the place. And it was actually like a week or two before the date on his check, he got the offer to be in Dumb and Dumber, and it was for exactly $2 million right around the date that he put on that check.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So from there, and this kind of goes along this themes, you got a coach. It was a huge leap of faith, and there's a whole story behind this. And check out the book. You'll be able to hear that story. But what did your coach get you to do with WriteYourDamnBook.com?
So at the time I hired her, I was a struggling freelance writer. And she specialized, as I said, in helping women with their finances, but she was also an online marketing expert. So she was like, well, you are a successful writer. I mean, I'd published a couple of books. I hadn't made any money on them, but I knew how to write. And I also had started coaching for this women's entrepreneurial group. I was sort of a leader in this group. So she's like, you have access to a network of women entrepreneurs all over the country, and you know how to write. So let's combine the two things you do have and create an online business where you teach women entrepreneurs how to write and sell their nonfiction books. So I started my little online business called WriteYourDamnBook.com. And I put up my little squeeze page and got all dressed up in my little outfit, and do you want me to go into that whole
No,
thing?
It's okay. You can give us the summary version.
Okay, good. So that's it. So that's how I started it, and did everything that the online marketing people who'd gone before me had tested and taught, and that's the business I ended up tripling my income with in 3 months.
And that kind of leads back to commitment. How committed were you at that point?
I was so committed that when it came time to put on my little business casual outfit and have my picture taken and put it on this cheesy online marketing banner. Now, again, this had all been tested. Like, online marketing is a very formulaic thing. And my goal, I was making money. Didn't matter what I had to do. So if I had to put on that damn outfit and get a haircut and do that whole thing, I did it. And there was a part of me that was terrified that, I was in rock bands the whole time, that my punk rock friends would see my cheesy little squeeze page and my little, do you want to write a book? Blah, blah. And I would lose all my rock and roll cred. And I was also terrified that my online coaching clients, my writing clients, would catch wind of my band, which was called Crotch at the time. And, I'd perform in a hair bikini and spit fake blood on the audience. And I was like,
I love it.
I was afraid they would politely ask for their money back once they saw that. So I was sort of living in this dual thing. And I just remember my coach being like, do you want to be broke and cool or rich and cheesy? And I was like, rich and cheesy, bring it on. I have made my decision.
So from there and from commitment, there's a movie, I can't believe I'm spacing the name of it right now. Touching the Void. What can you tell us about Touching the Void?
Touching the Void is this movie about these two guys who climb this glacial mountain, and, huge blizzard moves in, they get trapped, and one of the guys, when you're climbing, you rappel, you tie yourselves to each other. But they end up having to cut the cord, and one of the guys goes flying off the side of the mountain and is, given up for dead by the other guy. And so the story is about the guy who's on the end of the rope that gets cut. He ends up living. But they tell you that at the beginning of the story. It is, I watched the whole movie just like the whole time. I couldn't believe it. That's this fascinating story, but it is about mind over matter. And where there is a will, there is a way. There is no reason this guy should have lived through this experience. And he's a motivational speaker today, actually, not surprisingly. So I used it. I talked about it in my book to illustrate the difference between a real decision and a pretend decision. He could have he had many, many very valid reasons to just throw in the towel and be like, well, I'm just going to lie here and die and wait for the birds to eat me. But he kept going. He also chunked down his time. What he had before him, climbing across this huge glacier. He had a broken leg. He was snowblind. He peed all over himself. He had a horrible things to contend with. So he just broke it, and a vast expanse of snow and boulders to overcome. And he just broke it down into little chunks and did it little piece by piece, which really is the way to change your life. If you look at the whole thing, especially if you're so far away from the goal that you desire, just take it piece by piece and you will eventually get there.
No, in fact, you talk about him having his watch still worked. His leg's broken, everything's broken, but his watch had like a timer. And so he was doing a 20-minute challenge, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. I'll make it to the next rock and the next.
Yeah.
So from there, what can you tell us about, and this is something you've done. Well, you talk about it in your first book, you talk about it here as well. It's kind of that leap of faith of stepping off the cliff. When you know where you're going, the importance of sometimes spending money we don't have yet.
Right, and this is such the big bad wolf. And I had to write about it very carefully in my book because you can get into so much trouble talking about it's okay to go into debt. And if I hadn't gone into debt personally, I would not be sitting where I am right now. That is if I had waited until my broke ass made enough money to hire my first coach, no way. Absolutely no way. So
both.
Yeah. I mean, and especially for me, and I don't know about you, like my big issue was money.
I know for myself, it was about money as well. And even when I got money from a very sweet book deal with Random House years ago, I hadn't healed my relationship with money. And so all that money, not through necessarily, I wasn't spending on crazy things. I thought I was even making smart business decisions. But because I hadn't looked at my relationship with money and really dug deep into the core issues that you're challenging people with here, it went away, and then I didn't know how to make it again until I started facing these things.
Yeah. You know, and you bring up a good point. It's a relationship. And we don't really think about money that way. But if you do that exercise where you write a letter to it and you see how much you love it, how much you hate it, how much you don't trust it, and you think about if you treated another human being that way, they probably wouldn't hang around you much either, you know, and you probably wouldn't hang around with them that much. So healing that relationship is critical.
Let's go from there and let's talk about something else that's critical. You say, and now a word from my accountant. Why is it so important to look at our numbers?
Because if you're just vague about stuff, you live sort of a vague life. And if you're deciding that you're going to get rich, you're going to read a book like mine, you're going to listen to a podcast like this, you're serious about it. So why wouldn't you look at your numbers? You know, this is about money. Money is a numerical, is a numerical system of value. So instead of just hoping that you make more or dreaming of getting rich, look at what you've got. It's like a map. You have to know where you are before you can figure out where you're going. So look at where you are with money, see how much you have or do not have, figure out what you desire, figure out how much that costs, and then put a plan into place to make that. It's, and also the thing about really looking at your money is you get excited. Like then you're like, okay, I made $2,000 that week. That means I'm only $6,000 away from my goal. Like you can get invested in it much more easily.
So then if we go back into your childhood and the training that you were doing unbeknownst to you as a kid, what's a burn book?
Oh, a burn. My dad was a doctor, and he had this book in the house of, all sorts of diseases. There's like all these crazy medical books, and there was this burn book that the kids in my neighborhood and my family, we were all obsessed with. And we go look at the burn book, and it was so scary. Like these people were in so much pain, and horrible things had happened to their bodies, and we would just freak out looking at this book all the time. And I can't remember how I relate this to making money.
Well, I look at it as and it relates to what we're talking about, the numbers, is we have to be able to look at that. Even when it's difficult, especially when it freaks us out, we need to dive into it to figure out how to get to the other side.
Right. Thank you for saving that one.
So when we do look at the numbers and it does freak us out and we need to get to that place of a different state, what do we do? Because a lot of us, look at the numbers and suddenly our breath goes away. And it's as if we're talking to one of our parents and they're saying, that doesn't sound like such a wise, and you go, oh, you're right. And you run the other way.
right? That's where the faith comes in. That's where the affirmations come in. That's where the playing the loud music comes in and jumping around on the beach. You know, fear is not going anywhere. Fear will always be there in some form or another. It's whether you hand your power over to it or not. So notice the fear, have your little freak out, and get the hell on with your life.
Woohoo! Where does meditation fit in with this?
Meditation allows us to connect to the highest version of ourselves, the part of ourselves that's the most connected to the universal intelligence that is part of us and is all around us. Our brains are awesome. I don't want to trash our thinking conscious mind because it's a very amazing, amazing tool. However, we can get caught in a loop of thought that isn't very helpful to us. We can start attaching ourselves to outside input. I look around me, I'm broke, I can't make money, I never have. My parents taught me money is hard to make, the economy sucks, blah, blah, blah. That's all from here. When you get quiet and connect to your inner magnificence and intelligence and connect to the freaking universal intelligence, which is your mind. I mean, what else could be more powerful than that? Honestly, nothing. So that's where your intuition comes from. That's where your brilliant ideas come from. That's where your desire comes from, where the fire of who you are comes from. So the more time that you put aside, even if it's 5 minutes a damn day, to connect with that and strengthen that muscle, the mightier you will be and the less victimized you will feel by your environment.
Thank you. You mentioned an interesting term there, our magnificence. What does self-love have to do, and loving ourselves and seeing how great we are, have to do with the money we bring in?
Because if you really, truly understand that you're perfect in your flaws and that you're learning, we're here to learn, and it's, we're on a planet in outer space. Taking things too seriously, getting down on yourself, demanding perfection, whatever the hell that is, forgiving yourself, that strengthens your confidence. When you love yourself, it strengthens your confidence, which allows you to then take these great leaps into the unknown that are outside of your comfort zone. It also stops you from, when you have a sense of self-love and self-worth, you allow yourself to create the life you love. If you think you suck and are not worthy, you're not going to let yourself have the things you desire.
Thank you. A few quick wrap-up questions as we start to end this or wrap this up. First off, the importance of having, goes along the lines of tenacity, the importance of having zero tolerance for negotiations with ourselves.
Oh, this is such a good one. For me, I found this incredibly powerful. When you make a decision, the fastest way to fall off track with that decision is the second you start negotiating. The second you're like, let's say I've decided to write a book. Well, it's going to get hard. Things are difficult and I'm going to meet challenges. Every time I meet a challenge, the second the negotiation comes up to maybe I should work on that other idea I had. I think that idea was better. Or, maybe I'm not a writer. Maybe I should be a baseball player. Second you start negotiating, you knock yourself off track. So it's not about whatever that negotiation is about. It's about the negotiation itself. So be on the lookout when you've made a decision. For the second it creeps up and you start to get into that conversation, slam the door shut. Don't even allow it in.
Sounds incredibly important. Hadn't linked it till this moment, but when you said, well, maybe I'll do baseball instead, or maybe something else, you all of a sudden are putting out a different signal to the universe that you don't know what you want, and then it doesn't know what to give you.
Exactly.
From there, I always love to give homework assignments to people so that they listen to the show, they actually have some actionable they have to do. What one homework assignment would you give people today?
Write a letter to money as if it's a person and do it stream of consciousness, make it at least 2 pages long and just keep going and just let it flow. Good, bad, ugly, awesome, all of it. And once you've written it, look at it and pick out the pieces that might be blocking you from getting into the flow with money and come up with mantras that shift your belief system around those things.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What words of wisdom would you give to parents today to help their kids learn about money?
Talk to them about money. Have conversations with them. Get them books like mine and other books about money. Don't be secretive and weird and in shame about money. They watch you. And so our society, it's such a hush hush. It's like talking about sex, like can't do it. Talk about it, be open with it, have a healthy relation with it, lead by example.
Woohoo! What personally brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
Freedom, having freedom and options. And I feel like, now that I have money, it's not everything, certainly, but it's a lot. And money provides me with the freedom and options to give back the way I want to give back, to live my life the way I want to live it, and to not constantly be bored to tears by thinking about money all the time.
When we had you on the show last time, you were talking about you were going to be buying a home. I believe it was in Santa Fe. How's it feel to have your own home now?
I don't have my own home yet. I haven't found it yet, but I'm manifesting it. I'm in Santa Fe.
I love it. I love it.
So,
on that note, where can people go to find out more and to find your amazing, amazing book? And I hear you're going to be on book tour.
I am so freaking excited. I'm going to be on book tour for a month and a half, y'all. I'm going to be all over the United States and also in the UK and very possibly Ireland. To find out about that and to find my new book, please go to my website. It's jensincero.com. Sincero is spelled like the word sincere with an O on the end. So it's JenSincero.com.
Fantastic. And if you didn't catch jensincero.com, come on over to inspirenationshow.com. We'll get you over to Jen as well. Any last words of wisdom you want to share with people today?
You have one go round on planet Earth as the you that is you. And to not totally go for it is just such a waste of the delightful creature that you are. So have fun with your life.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And that is a mighty woohoo! It has been so much fun having you on the show, Jen. I cannot thank you enough.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always great to talk to you.
Thank you. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get you're a badass at making money, and begin mastering the mindset of wealth today. And shine bright. Woohoo!
Yeehaw!
I love it. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. That was so great.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!